quick thank you to Artie and Howie for buying Shanna coffees this week. Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Out of nowhere, it's gotten very warm and it's forecast to be over 90 degrees for this next week. We haven't had to use our AC all summer and we haven't actually had power to use it. So this hasn't been cleaned in quite some time and we're going to tackle that today. In addition, we're going to install this AC drain kit. On previous Airstream AC installations, we've been able to reuse the drains, the drain kit that comes with the AC, but on this one, it was broken when we removed the original AC from this Airstream. And because of that, this AC's been functioning 100% well, except that it's been draining condensation down the body of the Airstream, not using the drain line that goes in the interior skin and draining it down to the wheel well. So today we're going to solve that and reinstall the AC with the drain kit properly installed. One of the things that drives me crazy is redoing work I've already done, and that's a bit of what I'm going to have to tackle today because it's supposed to be hot. Shanna's now in this boot and I want her to be comfortable in here. We're going to have to fire up this AC for the first time in months. I'm going to have it half apart because I want to clean the dust out of it before we fire it up. It's just been sitting, and because of that, I'm going to redo the AC drains.
I also think there's no real good time to get on the roof and unmount your AC, and so we could just keep putting it off.
It would be very easy to keep putting this off because basically it functions, but it's that aesthetic problem where it keeps draining down the body of the Airstream, and it's, you know, we're going to fix it today. So step one in this process is to take a screwdriver and remove this shroud. Incidentally, the manual for this only says there's one service thing that you should do, which is to slide out these filters and clean them. And what we found is that, yes, these filters need to be cleaned, but there's a lot more dusty, grimy filth up above this cover. And we've cleaned behind here before. From experience, I would say that the best thing to do is to take off this shroud about every 6 months, whether you're using the AC or the heat pump. Step two is to get this loose and undo a little electrical connection that powers the display right here.
I can see the dust bunnies falling.
Here's that clip.
It's all dusty. And you wouldn't have thought that I had cleaned these recently, but I have. I cleaned them and we hadn't been really using it, but still.
Passively, there's still air flowing
through it, yep. And look at that, you can see.
Yep, you can see the edge of it where there's a bit of an air leak. Before I get too far along here, just show you that this is the drain tube that we're going to use that goes into the interior skin of the Airstream. Above that, this is the gasket that we're going to replace today. Step three is to undo these 4 bolts that compress the gasket with the weight of the AC and pull everything together so that the AC is secured to the Airstream's roof. All right, this is just a 1/2 inch socket. The bolts are fairly long, so it takes quite a while. I started them all loosening manually, but I'm just going to use this because they're really long and it'll just save me a minute. Step 3 continued is to remove this inside frame. I'm disconnecting it from the bellows now to be able to access that to clean.
Are there little clips?
Yep.
That are falling?
Yep, they're disconnected. This is one of the places where the dirt is only exposed by removing this, and it'll accumulate up there over time. I've actually broken the clip off the left side here by my thumb. Would look like the one on the right. I don't think it'll cause us a problem with vibration because everything is compressed into place. Step 4 is to remove this bellows, and frankly, I'm excited to clean that outside. Nasty. Step 5 for me is going to be to clean all of this dust everywhere and this grime before I get it loose and circulating through the Airstream.
Good call. Also, it won't get stuck in your sealant when you unmount that.
Yes.
Wow, that's so gross.
It is. Just wanted to reiterate that the manual does not suggest cleaning anything in this except these filters, but there's clearly, over time, buildup everywhere. gonna put on gloves because I've already gave myself a little nick cut once. There's sharp edges kind of everywhere, the plastic, the metal. So some basic rubber gloves will help me keep from getting more cuts. I'm gonna start with disinfecting wipes, in part because they're wet and I'm hoping the dust will stick to them and not come raining down in the Airstream for the most part. We'll see how this goes.
Is it just powder? Is it sticky from the oils from cooking, or?
It's a mix of both, I think. Some of it is kind of sticky residue and some of it is just fluffy powder.
Oh, wow.
Is the Victron off?
Good call. Let me check. I really appreciate you doing this, Andrew.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm looking at a lot of Texas dust up in here.
Yep. From gate guarding?
Yep.
That'll be good to know for next time we gate guard.
So one of the areas that's most difficult to clean in this is up here on this coil. This is where the intake air would come across the coil to be cooled, and there's quite a lot of dust and grime built up on it. I've partially cleaned it, but it's difficult. Step 6, because I have access to that open drain line and a compressor, I'm gonna blow compressed air down that drain line to clear it out and make sure I don't have any buildups in there since it hasn't been used. Because I could have, if that's blocked, a backup of condensation into the ceiling of the Airstream.
All right, so what I'd like to do is do this for you and have you go check the air coming out of the tube behind the tire.
Yep.
Can you do this? Okay, the doctor clearly told you if you fall or injure that, you're gonna need surgery and or a full cast, so.
I'll be really, really careful.
Okay. This may vary a little bit by model of Airstream, but this is where our drain tube comes out, right there in the wheel well. Blow air. I did see little bits coming out.
Step 7 is going to be to take these outside and blow them off with the compressed air.
Step 8 for me is to remove the black exterior AC shroud.
Step 9 is going to be disconnecting the power from the AC unit. Since we made these connections, we've started using Wago connectors, so I'm probably not going to use the wire nuts when we finish this up, but reconnect with Wago connectors. Stay tuned.
Step 9 is to disconnect the power. Step 10 is going to be the most frustrating one time-wise. It's going to be to remove this black seal, which is glued to the Airstream body with Tremco and to the bottom of the AC. So cutting that in a difficult to work place is going to take some time.
Just cutting the gasket?
Yep. I'm trying to get this long, thin knife up in there, and it's not easy in the corners, but it works pretty well in the straights. I want to get the bottom of the AC disconnected from the gasket pretty cleanly, move the AC unit back, then I'll have the open hole, and on the roof side I can work to remove the rest of the gasket from the roof with more room to work. Working on the bottom side of the AC will be the hardest part of this.
Very close. Very close.
Still doing step 10. It's going pretty well. As you can see, I've got it disconnected all around the front. This back edge is underneath the unit, so I can't trace it from the outside like I can on the other 3 sides. Just a little bit of something here. We're disconnected.
Woo!
Okay, step 10 complete. I think I can nudge this backwards now. I'm gonna get something on the roof to lift it backwards onto. How this works may actually be easier to show from the bottom side, so just 1 second.
I've moved the AC slightly askew to show that the drain cup fits right there, and the tubing will connect it over to the existing drain tube and solve our condensation running down the outside of the body problem.
Step 11 is going to be to move the AC back off of the open hole, and then we're going to remove all that old sealant so we can put a new gasket on a nice clean surface.
Incidentally, I've got the contact points essentially on a rib here and spread on a rib back here where there's even more weight. How you feeling?
My toes have a heartbeat, but this boot is so much more comfortable than that splint.
All right, I would say get your elevation up there for a while.
Yeah, it was hurting me after trying to hobble around a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not ready.
Yep, well, little bits of improvement, but don't push it. Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, I can't help.
It's all right, it's all right. We're just cutting this gasket off up here.
Usually I do the roof work, so it feels weird.
Yeah, no. I get it, I do. Pretty much down to the metal with just a little bit of residue left. We'll see what some denatured alcohol can do. All right, step 12. This is our drain kit cup here, connected with a clamp to the tube hidden in the gasket to this piece of tubing. I'm gonna leave it like this for now and cut it to fit the T after I've got it installed. So for right now, I'm gonna attach this up to the bottom of the AC. I've got the pattern from the last gasket here to show me exactly where it is going to fit. And this is the hole either side where the condensation comes out and drips into the cups. The cup attaches here with a self-tapping screw that's gonna drill through the steel. We'll see how this goes. Pretty well, actually. It's one of the better self-tapping screws I've used in a while. Step 13, I'm gonna reinstall this by setting it down in a bed of Tremco sealant around the opening. So let me get started on that. I know you can't see it, but I've got a bed of sealant up here around the edges, and we're just about to lower this down into it. Step 13 was lowering the AC into the sealant. Now, I can't actually tighten the bolts to pull it down and make a seal because I need to connect my drain line first. So right now, I'm gonna connect my drain line. It's important to note also, I'm gonna check to make sure none of my wires have been caught when I lowered it down in the edge of the Airstream roof. So step 14 will be connecting my drain line. I'm gonna make a cut here in this tubing, and I'm gonna bring this around to make a 90-degree bend, and I should have connection of the drain line. Save yourself the aggravation and put your clamps on the tubing before you make the connections, then slide them into place. You'll be much happier. Ask me how I know. Just kind of tight quarters to work. There's a couple things I don't like. I'll explain in just a second. I'm gonna put the clamps on and tighten this up in a second, but one of the things I don't love is this crimp right here. What I really need is a 90-degree fitting, which I can get at a different time. You know, it's an hour plus to the hardware store right now, so I'm gonna let it go with this and put it on the list to fix later. It's 30 degrees warmer today than yesterday, nearly, and it's gonna be even warmer tomorrow. So I think we'll all be happier with the AC running tomorrow since we've got the power to do it.
I know I'll be happier with some air movement. Whew.
Step 15 is to put this bellows back. It's necessary for our Houghton AC. Your model may not quite have this. Our old AC didn't have this piece. Step 16 is to put this frame back up and tighten down the AC with the 4 bolts on the corners. There's 2 things to be mindful when you do this. One, the excess sealant will try to run out and drip inside the coach.
It's help!
And 2, you want to make sure you steer clear of all the wires and the drain tube so nothing gets pinched as you put it back together. I've tightened the 4 bolts just so they catch in the ceiling and allows me this frame to hang, and it allows me to assemble this bellows piece because that all compresses up once the bolts tighten up. Step 17, I'm going to reconnect power to the AC unit. Here's an improvement I'm happy to make. I'm going to use Wago connectors rather than the wire nuts inside this connection box. My understanding is these are standard in Airstreams now, so we'll consider this a mini upgrade. I'm restripping a couple wires so I can make a nice clean connection with the Wagos. For the Wago connectors, we're using black to black butt style connectors, also for white to white, and a triple for the 3 grounds. In this case, the box is grounded as well. I think the Wagos made this a lot tighter than it was. Step 18 is going to be to put this cover back on so that we can test it, make sure everything is working. Power's back on, so we're going to give it a test. I think it smells a lot better.
I think so too.
Yeah. I think we did good here.
Is it blowing cold?
It is? It is blowing cold?
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna go back up top and put the black shroud back on top of it.
That's the last step?
That'll be step 19.
All right.
All right, step 19 here is the test run and reinstall the cover. And there is one thing I don't like the looks of. I'll show you over here. There's a seam here in the styrofoam held together with silver duct tape, and I've got more of that, so I'm just going to replace that now, and we'll be in better shape. All right, I think that's well covered. I'm going to put the cover back on. There's our new drain cup. We're going to let it run a little bit, and then we're going to check up on that, see how it's doing.